Alrighty, we've got a question from Jason.
We have a couple of philosophical questions in this episode. Yeah, mildly philosophical.
This one is city versus suburban versus small town versus country life. Hi, Nicki and Rob. Since you're in the middle of moving, I've got a question about where I should live. In my last gig, I needed to live in the city for work. A suburban house, but with good access to transit and easy bike ride to work. I've recently switched to working remotely, so I've got a lot more flexibility and wondering if I might benefit from a different way of life. What are your thoughts on living situations and surrounding built environments and their impacts on health and happiness? For reference, we're a mid-30s married couple with no kids, but trying, and a dog. Mostly homebodies, but we have friends, family, and a great CrossFit box in the city. Lots of options for living in small towns, acreages, hobby farms, near the lake, all within an hour drive of the city. I've been a follower for many years, and your work has helped me in so many ways, so thank you. Jason.
Do you want to take a stab at that?
Gosh, I feel like where to live is such a personal thing. I mean, I remember when we were in Chico, right before we left Chico, I just remember somebody made the comment like, you know, does your soul sparkle here? And Chico, for sure, my soul was not sparkling at all. You know, so I feel like where you live, like different people gravitate towards mountains, ocean, tree, you know, like the environment, I think really does impact happiness and overall well-being. But I think it's a pretty individual
We definitely
thing.
like sunlight a lot. So we're traveling. So I'll get just unpacking this a little bit. Hopefully it's helpful. If not, you can fast forward through all this stuff or just turn the damn thing off. So that's easy enough. But we were in Chico. We had sold the gym. We wanted to get far enough away from the gym that if anything went wrong, there was no way possible that we could get drugged back into it. And so we had traveled a fair amount and really liked the New Mexico, Santa Fe area. Mm-hmm. So we moved to the outskirts of Santa Fe. It was really beautiful. It was pretty cool. But we got pregnant right around that time, and it was super remote. There were very few people our age having kids. And because of the kind of like retiree artsy scene there, it was like Orange County, California expensive. It was
for like the, you know, to live anywhere near the downtown area.
Right.
And I just don't, New Mexico is beautiful, but
beautiful.
It wasn't like, it didn't click for us.
Right.
And we got pregnant. And so we decided to move to Reno because my dad had moved there recently. My sister was still in Chico, so she was just over the hill. But we went to Reno thinking,
it was going to be a 2-year
We're just going to have the baby here and then figure out where we're going next.
Get our feet under us. You were a co-founder of a tech company at that point. So you were kind of hot and heavy on that. I was on the tail end of the first cycle of the Paleo Solution book, doing really well, and all the drama that we had with CrossFit and everything else. And so I shifted a little bit into a Mr. Mom mode to some degree.
But Reno surprised us. Like we didn't expect to like it the way that we did. And we ended up making some phenomenal friendships and really, really liking it. And the thing, so back to your question about city versus suburban, Reno was 300,000 people. It's a decent sized city, but there's topography and mountains, and you're close enough to get to trees and a lake and Lake Tahoe, versus Chico being really, really flat.
Quite hot in the summer. Yeah. So the things that we definitely did like about Reno, it was big enough that it had pretty much everything that you needed, but we were pretty fortunate to live somewhere that we had minimal driving. I mean, like super minimal driving. You in particular really enjoyed the four seasons. Like there's a legit fall there. The weather changes, the trees change color. Like it's pretty beautiful. It's probably not as spectacular as like places on the East Coast and whatnot. But I mean, it was pretty cool. And then Reno grew a ton. And
everywhere's growing a ton.
Everywhere's growing a ton. If it's the least bit nice, like people are bailing out of the larger metropolitan areas and stuff like that. And I had been kind of intrigued about the Texas Hill Country area for about 7 years, and we started looking at places like Bernie,
well, let's
New
not get too
Braunfels.
far ahead of us, because we got a whole question on why we moved to Texas.
We do, yeah.
So let's talk about what Jason's question. Like, so he has a lot of options for where he can live, and I guess it really just depends on what you enjoy doing. Where can you kind of scratch all of the itches of like whatever you like to do for fitness and outdoor stuff, and
how tolerant you are to the transit options that you have. The two things that have kind of appealed to me are kind of either being a good bit out off the beaten path, but with some community around, like some people that the kids can play with and stuff like that. Or like when we would do seminars, we really liked like the Park Slope area of Brooklyn, like that like urban environment that you don't really need a car and you can roll downstairs and there are shops and restaurants and all that type of stuff. Like or something like a new urban environment where there's like stores and things that you could walk to. I could be super drawn to that. We now have a horse-sized dog, which is going to limit our opportunities for doing something like that. But I personally could find that pretty appealing because of the simplicity. And I'm a little bit more of a people person. Like I get a little bit squirrely being alone and in the same four walls and not seeing
remote.
people too remote. So,
and I will say, because Jason mentions he's trying to have kids, like having kids in the middle of nowhere, or I mean, not that you're going to be in the middle of nowhere, but like that's one thing that we didn't have in Reno when we first had Zoe, was like a tight network of friends yet, because we had just moved there. And when you're a new mom and you don't have any female mothers around you to help, like it's no joke. So,
yeah.
So I would keep that in mind, because if you do get pregnant and and you decide to move kind of far away from your social network, that could be trying.
Yeah, it can be really hard.
It could be trying.
Yeah.
And then also just for, once your kids are older, like there's activities that they're going to want to do, or you're going to, and so you don't want to be too far away from the ability to do things like gymnastics or swimming or whatever, any kind of activities that you might want to do with them, or that they might want to tackle.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Jason, I think it's some soul searching time, but it's exciting because you have, I mean, it's an enviable position to be in, where you can go wherever you want to go.
Just really quickly though, I could make the case that kind of like the suburban environment in which you don't know any of your neighbors, but yet they're kind of all up in your junk, is kind of the worst of everything. Because you're both isolated, but not really any space like that. That's
right.
my personal kind of feel
right.
with that. Versus like in a city, you kind of have the expectation that you're stacked on top of each other, but you have some perks. Like maybe you don't need a car, and maybe there's all kinds of super cool stuff within walking distance. So what would be cool is having a spot in both places, or like Airbnb being part of the year or something like that, so that you can scratch those itches too. Yeah.